Welcome to Chew the Fat. In this series, I sit down with high-performance guests and we talk about life, business, and what it takes to be at the top. This is part of my mission to raise $1 million for charity by writing a cookbook called Eat with Purpose. But I'm going to need your help. If you can share the content and leave a review, it's going to make a massive impact. And the bigger the audience, the greater the reach, and the sooner we can get to that $1 million goal. Enjoy the episode.
Oh, wow. This is serious.
This is serious.
Proper.
This is serious.
Proper.
Mate. So you asked for today, my good sir, a steak tartare. Inside there, what I've done is I've pickled some onions, so little homemade pickled onions.
Wow.
We've got sweet potato as a crisp, and then inside the tartare, bunch of different herbs, spices, and then finally I've just finished it off with some fried garlic. I don't know if it was a LinkedIn post or an Instagram post the other day. You had mentioned you'd started like a fitness journey, fitness and like health.
Got to stay fit for another 20 years.
Yeah.
This is like amazing.
Good.
Fred Schebesta, founder of Finder.com, serial entrepreneur, and a raving fan of crypto. Welcome to Chew the Fat.
Thank you so much.
So mixing it up today, had the dish before. Hopefully enjoy the little steak tartare there.
Just so everyone knows, Frank just aced this. Like literally the guys just like pulled out a cheeky Frank steak tartare version, South of France level. Just quietly.
Yeah.
This is not like, I'm just going to go and make, like have a go. This is like genuine. So everyone who's listening knows that.
I hope if anybody invites me to home like this, that's the level of expectation you can have. The first question I have for you is, if I look at your career, your life, the many successes, and with those successes, of course, has come, financial success as well. What's the thing that still drives you today to keep wanting to push?
I think that I feel like it's funny. I don't see it as like a start and a finish. I see it as a always on game. So it's never going to end. And I think within that never-ending game, it's like horizons. So it's like I get to this horizon, I'm like, oh, what's over there? I see this, and oh, well, now what's over there? It's kind of a wandering journey rather than a straight line planned journey. I would say I'm much more of a wanderer, and I wander into all sorts of weird and wacky things. But I think, if you go back into the core, like what's driving, I love the creative process and the creative act, and I celebrate creativity. I just love to be creative. There's a part of me is just a little kid that's still there and just plays with ideas and plays with thoughts, and that's what I find fun. I'm just lucky that there's a way to channel that into like an economic outcome, and maybe there is a measure of success in that. Like some do well, some don't do well, and some do really well. I'd say it's sort of 7 do terribly, 2 do pretty good, and 1 does just out of the park, in general. And I'm kind of just always seeking outlets to find and deploy this creativity. And my goal is to create something that's so remarkable and so unique that it creates a legacy. That people look back and they go, oh, that he created that thing, or he was part of the team that made that thing, or whatever it may be. And I just don't think I've found that yet. I'm still seeking.
Why do you think that idea of the legacy is really important to you?
That's a very deep question.
Welcome to Chew the Fat.
That's a really good one. It's probably something I need to probably invest more time and understand myself. Why? I think there's probably something about just the temporal nature of our existence and how it's kind of this small fleeting moment in the universe. And, you know, I think in not everyone has this desire, but I think there's, you know, some people just didn't think about it. But for me, I think it's just trying to make some sort of mark in the universe, or some sort of edifice that I was here. It's like, you know, people climb up tall mountains or hills and they put little rocks upon thing or whatever, you know, like, I don't know, that's probably that's the child in me that's coming out. And I think that, you know, what's the strategy there is that I think people have a pretty good chance of, like, humanity has a pretty good chance of survival. And because it has a pretty good chance of survival, putting sort of psycho assets into the cognition of humanity that carry it along throughout time, I think is one of my better chances of doing that. I don't know if I guess I see myself as an artist, but not in the same artistry as a, you know, a designer, or like there are things that I'm involved behind the scenes in designing or product design. Like I'm like I guess directing, producing. I guess I still see myself as an artist in a way. You know, you think about art, even like through major wars, there were these pieces of paper or canvas that were carried around and protected, even more so than a whole series of other things. And it just stays on the, you know, with humanity throughout time.
There's like a stamp. They're often a stamp of time in history.
Yeah, like a cultural artifact, or you know, with this idea of an oyster that's stuck on. You know,
Yeah, that's good. That's a good analogy. I like that. And so, like, honing in on that creative side, like, how do you foster creativity today? Like, how do you continually make sure you're in the right places at the right times to have those creative moments?
I think I naturally choose projects where creativity is required, where you have to either start something or reinvent something, and normally in those two instances, creativity is at a premium, because you need to invent.
Yeah.
Where there is blank space, where there is new space, and that's what drew me a lot to crypto as well, because it's so new, and the internet as well. You know, I started in 2000 in the internet. That's, you know, okay, it's not like in the 80s,
Right.
but like that was a pretty
It's early stages.
pretty early, yeah. Like before hashtags, you know, or like before smartphones, before, you know, dial up. Like that's when I was building sites, and you'd refresh the page with a dial up modem, and it would take a while.
I remember that noise. And so it's starting in 2000. Was that just in the journey in the internet as such, or was that specifically? No, Finder was 2006. Is that right?
Yeah, 2006. Yeah.
So did you go through a wave during that .com era, like where was there any initial success through that, or were you just kind of starting to learn?
I did build an agency, a digital marketing agency, and
Yeah.
sold it in 2007.
Okay.
I was 26. It's pretty. Yeah, I didn't really know. I was like such a young kid.
Yeah.
It's like hilarious actually thinking back. I look at, you know, mid 26-year-old, look at him and I was like that. Wow. Like, I think by going back to the creative part, I think what's another thing that's really important is to curate where you are and the environment you're in. Reduce the noise, open it for space, and when I say open it for space, obviously very carefully select who the people are in the room.
Yep.
It's absolutely critical that energy needs to flow, and because ideas don't make sense, right? Like they're not straight line. You sit down in a room and you go, I know where we're going to get to after this. Said no one doing a creative process. You know, the other day I walked in thinking we're going to do some AI thing. We walked out with some social media thing, you know.
Yeah.
That's normal. I was like, that is the creative, like honoring the creative process means that you're okay with that and giving space to it and allowing people to go down tangents and then knowing when to bring it back. And then those tangents spark other things back bring back the goal, and that connects to another dot, and suddenly you're in this whole, you've seen the whole space and the whole, and a lot of it, unfortunately, is that you'll go back to, you get lost, and you have to go back and question, hey, why are we doing this again? Why are we here? Wait, how did we get here? What? And that means we're in a good zone. We're in to come back. I just think, the curation of the people, and when I say curation of the people, I think one of the things is that they're not people who are going to be like, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's just go with your idea.
Yeah. Not just yes people surrounding you.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a creative process then. You're going to get a coercion towards an idea. And normally what's weird, I've discovered with most of the creative processes, my idea tends to not be chosen 95% of the time because it's so out there. And off. It's just off. I look at I'm just not. But the hosting of the process, the curation of the people, that's the part that I hold space for.
So let's contextualize. There's probably two different types of audience today. One that might be in that early stage, I want to create an idea, I want to start a business. And then the other one is, I'm in a business and what's our next thing? Let's start with the first person. Let's start with that person who's like, okay, I don't have Fred's connections. Who should I bring in the room? Like, let's help contextualize for them so they know what does that next step action look like for that person who's like, I want to create an idea. I want to have something amazing in business.
I think we were talking about this before. The funny thing I think about really good businesses, and most of the time, and I don't think this is sort of honoured enough, but it's a lot about timing. And there are a lot of ideas. If you go back at the internet as well, like let's go back to the early 90s, even late 90s, there were full video streaming platforms. There were video platforms. It had all been done.
Yeah.
There were online food delivery services. There was like pets.com delivering new dog food. And it all fell over.
Yeah.
Now you go today, everyone buys their groceries online. You buy pet food stores on. Sometimes ideas don't have. You're just not in the right place, right time. And so, what does that mean? That's obviously that's high risk. I can imagine you're staring at that, going, "Okay, am I in the right time?"
Yeah.
But the second thing I wanted to say, I think, to add is that I actually think most ideas are just remixes of previous ideas.
Yeah.
They're really, you don't need to do a lot of creativity. If the creativity is in choosing that, number one, what is the thing you're going to remix? And then adding or subtracting something, generally. The way, I know, boil it down to a simple example. I think I've used this, I don't know if I told you this the other day, but I think about the yogurt industry. You go back into the 90s.
Yogurt or yoga?
Yogurt.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the yoga industry later.
I don't really know much about yoga, as you can tell from my physique.
Let's go on the yogurt. I like it.
Remember yogurt, you go back, the sort of 80s, 90s, you got like little tubs and big tubs. And then you got to spoon this stuff into a bowl. And now you've basically, and it's kind of messy when you spoon it slops a bit, and this ain't kid friendly.
Yeah.
Right, it's totally unkid friendly. You can't give them in their lunchbox. You can't, this is, and it was kind of like, it was a bit of a thing. Now you've got two dishes. You've got the spoon and the bowl. Probably got a whole bunch of mess, and then the yogurt thing you've bought it in such a container, then you forget about it. It's it's annoying, right? And then the yogurt industry went, we've got a problem in our growth. They're just literally plateaued. And they're like, what are we going to do? Well, actually, some smart consultants got together and said, hey, actually, the biggest problem is just people can't eat it very easily.
User error.
Yeah. They just literally, it's too hard. It's inconvenient. And so then they went, okay, they invented those little squeezy things.
Yep, my son loves them.
Yeah. Like literally yogurt sales went just on the tear. Just couldn't eat it. And, so those people who made those businesses who made those that yogurt container didn't invent yogurt. They didn't invent the demand for yogurt. They didn't market yogurt. They just changed the way it's delivered. That's it. And so I think when I'm looking at like businesses and ideas and opportunities, I think just sort of think a little less and just go through your day. And normally, what I think really powerful businesses is the next thing is, or just you're trying to go through your day. Basically, I'll finish that idea, finish that thought. Is that go through your day and you find problems and you're like, oh, that could be done like this. And you might go on a bit of a creative process to go and investigate that. It's a little seed that you sort of plant and you put a little water in and see where it goes. You haven't actually started building your business. You're just investigating. You're letting it see where it naturally takes its course. And then what I think really fertile seeds or really are better seeds where you either love something or you have deep domain knowledge. Those are like, you put those in, they naturally, you're like, oh, well, I know it needs this fertilizer and that, kind of so like my first business was a digital marketing agency. So when I build a website, I know how to market it. I don't need that most fancy idea. I just give me an idea that works and I can just market it like crazy. And so that's a very basic process of how Find got created, right? That domain expertise, I think, if you can go and find something you love or find something, and I love finance. I just, I don't know. I like investing. I like money and banks, and so those things are kind of, I don't know. I kind of like this. And so if you take those kind of ingredients, and you plant those seeds, and they'll sort of flourish into places. And your next phase is to take one of those and go, okay, well, it's naturally gone to here. Now I'm going to craft something. Now the crafting process begins, and you're gonna go and work on this idea, create something, take it from where it is into something else that you've remixed. You've got this idea, and put something out there. And then the last part, I think, of the process is you're adding your creative mix to it, your personal element, and you know what it'll come from. It'll come from how the brand looks, what feels good to you. That's your unique element. And branding is a defensive mode. You can defend a product. Nike sells shoes. I mean, selling shoes, you just put things on your feet. That ain't new invention. You just got an unbelievable brand that sticks over the top that makes them be able to sell it for 3x the margin. And the guy literally in the beginning, went around in his boots selling someone else's shoes, right?
That's such a
like commodity level.
It's such a good story. I love that.
So I think those are the three phases, and that's where I'd look.
Okay. And then with regards to the curating those right people in the room for that individual, like who might they need to look for in their life to have that space?
I think of it like if you were, this is the funniest analogy, but I always go back to is say like right now we're like, okay, we need to exit the Earth and get in a rocket ship right now and go to Mars because that's the one we can potentially, I think there's a little bit too much nitrogen there. Or no, I think we've got a lot of nitrogen here in the air, but I think they've got something else like hydrogen or something that's not good, right? Carbon dioxide, I think is
not ideal.
It's not ideal, right? It's too high concentration and we wouldn't be able to breathe it. We're going to have to go deal with that. But let's just imagine we had to do that. Like, who would you literally call right now to go and do that? Those are a good starting people to at least go and take your idea to. And then there's another person, I think, is the person who basically, in your life, edits your life for you. They probably don't, they may have done something or genuinely it's better if they have, but they literally will give you feedback that's cutting and is going to be, like it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But it's good for you.
Yeah. I got a few of those.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody who knows exactly who you are. That's good. Okay, so that's a really good frame there because it's contextual. It's like, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and who are the people in your life that you think might be the closest potential to be able to solve that for whatever.
Or they
it is,
may know someone else.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah. And one of the things you said before really stands out to me because I think it's a challenge as we grow in business about having the people around us who are not just yes people. And I don't know if you found this, but I certainly did in my career, is the bigger the business became, the more important you become in the business, your role and your title becomes all big and scary. And people are more likely to be the yes people than they are the no, because they don't want to challenge the authority, et cetera, et cetera. How do you cultivate that to make sure that people, when you're having these creative jam sessions or whatever it might be, aren't those yes people in your life?
I just don't bring them in the room.
Yeah. Do they need to be a certain type of person? Is it like other people have maybe had exits of similar size, or just it's more like in that person's nature?
No, I don't. They're just in their nature. They're they're confident in themselves. They believe in their ideas. They have a point of view.
Yeah.
I remember there's a guy, a really great VC, Jeff Ransdell out of Miami, and he has a saying. If you sit on the fence, you leave your testicles exposed. That's probably a bit strong, right? But basically, if you don't have a point of view, you're going to get targeted.
Yes.
You need to be on one. You need to have a view.
Yes.
And otherwise, you're not contributing. You're just a keyboard warrior.
Yep.
Or you're an armchair expert.
Yeah.
You've not actually contributed anything. And there are lots of people that can edit and write stuff, but actually getting in the arena, getting your face dirty.
Yeah. Be willing to say things that you can get put down.
Yeah,
for.
shot down and be wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, I could potentially be wrong, but I'll die on the hill for this. I want to hear what you've got to say. Tell me, what will you die on the hill for?
Yeah. Is that asking me?
Okay, let's ask Frank.
What would I die on the hill for?
Yeah, what? Okay, let's contextualize. Let's go. What's one thing that you would die on the hill for that you think other people would not, but you truly believe?
Oh, that's good, Fred. Thank you for having me on your podcast, firstly and foremost. That's a really good question.
Can't quit steak tartare. I know someone who can, but he's in my network.
Yeah. When it comes to an idea, you know what? I'm going to bring it to this concept of me writing the cookbook, Eat with Purpose, and selling $1 million worth of copies. When I first brought that out to life and spoke about it, I think anybody who didn't know me was immediately shocked about the confidence that I wouldn't say, and I'm going to try. It's I'm going to, and I'm going to sell $1 million. And even the concept of fundraising is different, et cetera, et cetera. You go and ask for money. It's like you're building this product, you've created this niche, plus you're building the brand, and people were. Even, my wife is incredible and amazing, but I had this conversation with her. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write this cookbook. How I'm going to get the sales is I'm going to get enough people following along the journey to buy into it that when it comes out, we're going to sell. And I had the conversation with him, Byron, and I go, what I need to do is hire Kai. And I legit put down the phone. Sorry, I'm speaking to her. And as I say, I'm going to hire Kai, I pick up my phone. She goes, what are you doing? And I go, calling Kai, I'm going to hire him. And I call him that moment and I go and offer him the job. And so that would be my thing is when you back yourself in certain areas, it's like only you truly know. What about you? What would you die on there? Which idea would you die on the hill for?
I have a number of different ideas, but a lot of them I put my money on the table, so that's
that's usually a good sign.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong conviction. That other people don't believe. That's
the tricky part.
Yeah. The challenging part is I can probably argue back that there will be someone out there that would believe, just to sit back. I have this thesis, so this is really strong, that humans, we're essentially going to be, we have created the, we're going to create the digital version of ourselves in order to, we're not physically built to time travel or travel large distances, but we're going to build a way with technology, and that's our purpose, is to come out of the primordial soup of organic matter into a digital version of ourselves to, you could literally just transport ourselves at the speed of light to other parts of the universe and then execute a physical process.
Yeah.
And I think that concept and idea is, it's pretty brutal. But I lean into AI and I lean into robotics and just see it as we're just an evolution.
It's like natural steps.
A natural acceptance of my frailty
Yes.
in being organic matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like think about, I'll tell you what's a wacky one. Think about eating. Eating is bonkers, right?
Yeah.
Let's get a large amount of things,
Yeah.
put them into a boiling pot of acid, take out a lot of the minerals, just burn it up and like really like dredge it down and then run it through a massive line and hopefully pick out a
little
few
bugs,
bits
yeah.
on the way. And if not, then just throw a whole bunch of other stuff in and then just exit everything out.
Yes. It's true. Or we just plug into a wall.
like, can we just maybe refine this and only put in what we need? Like, is there any optimization here? It's just a bludgeoned. And then on the other side, but I think there's this other part of humanity that we completely don't understand, the subconscious, where, you know, ideas are sort of out there, and then I think we don't realize how this sentience and this consciousness, and like, you know, when an idea comes in and then you don't know where that came from,
Like in your own mind?
in your own mind,
Absolutely.
and you couldn't sit there with a piece of paper and rationally work that out.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more going on than we are able to yet calculate or empirically, scientifically understand.
When you say that, that definitely jumps out at me. It's something I've thought about before. Like, so we were talking about that different creative process in that group setting. I have my own version. I'm reasonably creative, not like super highly creative. My version is like, an example is like, I might be on a plane between here and Melbourne, and you have all these things in your mind that are kind of whirling away. I just sit there, write everything that's on my mind right then and there, regardless of what it is. I then write down all of my spinning plates. So what are the different things that my brain's trying to subconsciously process? I park that piece of paper and I just sit there, you know, no headphones in, and I kind of sit there. And just to your point there, things just pop into your mind when you've kind of created that little space for it. You're like, okay, what's the topic perhaps I want to be thinking about? And then they just pop into your mind. It is definitely strange. We could go down on a deep rabbit hole here, but like, it's literally like, it's kind of almost given to you. It's like, here you go. Here's this idea.
I'm building an idea. I honor that. That's to me part of the creative process. Why you, and you know, like, I've heard that cricket batsmen, when the ball is bowled with most fast bowlers, it comes so quickly out of the hand, hits the grass, and then goes and arrives to the player before your eyes and your brain can process. And they're purely playing from instinct.
Yes.
You know, and I think the other thing is we don't think about breathing that often, or moving that amount of chemical hormone from here to there. So there's a lot going on. I reckon we're like kind of 10% awake.
Yeah.
And you're just you were just writing a letter to your awesome subconscious process going, hey man, can you calculate this for me? Thanks. And you just throw it over the wall and he throws it back and you're like, oh wow, thank you so much.
Jesus, I'm smarter than I remember.
Yeah, wow. Like I got that. That's why I did that boiling process.
Yes, that's good. Okay, so let's take it for those people listening today. I'm thinking about like a key takeaway for them in business. And so where I want to get to is like, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to that early stage startup who's about to go and tackle the business world, what would it be?
I've got a few ideas, but I think what I read, and I think this is something really cool, and this is just my opinion, but I read about Sequoia and how they chose their investments. And Sequoia went through and basically funded all of the tech companies that made the computer revolution, like all through the stack of the computer. And what they basically did was they actually didn't care that much about the founder.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't, even if they're quite annoying and, you know, dictator-ish like, or they were like, we don't care. All we care about is how big the market is.
Wow.
And if we're going to get there. Because, you know, someone with enough passion, and then that's a different way of thinking.
Yeah, I feel like usually it's like quite contrarian. Often it's like very much founder driven, their decision making.
So choose a good market. You know, like hippopotamus umbrellas are probably, you know, in low you know, demand.
Strike, right? Yeah.
You know, but like, you know, generally there are things, go for a big market, go for something big.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is go and find something and do something unique as best you possibly can. And that I don't want that vector. I don't want it to come across like, oh, it must be like completely every single part of it unique. Probably most of it's not going to be.
Yep.
Maybe 2% will, but that 2% is what you're going to be indexed on.
Yeah.
And be okay with that. I think the last thing is people. In choosing people, don't go and make big deals early that are long term. Make really just like you're dating, you know, like slow it down. You're going to be doing this for a long time. If you're committed, you know, I'm assuming anyone who's listening is, you're talking like, you know, 5 to 10 years we're doing to do this. That's a long campaign.
Yeah.
And I was married for 7, so that was one big campaign. By the way, my ex-wife is an amazing person. Love her a lot, so she moved out. And my current partner as well. Like, so, but, you know, long-term campaigns, you don't need to go and make all the deals and sign it with everyone and get everything done immediately. Just hire slow, and it's, you know, everyone says hire slow and, you know, fire fast. But just in the very beginning, particularly, I always think that companies, they just take people in really, really fast. They're just people that are around them, and they're like this scarcity factor, or this I must get this person in. Like, if your idea is going to work, like, timing might be a thing in terms of how fast you need to go. That can be a factor. But just take it easy on the people. If you have made an idea, it'll just start to attract the right people, and don't just fill voids. The worst thing I think I would suggest to avoid is, oh, we need someone now. It doesn't really matter if it works out or not. That's going to cause you so many headaches.
I've made that mistake so many times. So many times, Fred.
That one. Yeah.
Where were you? Where were you 10 years ago?
That's the one I just slow down. People will come to you.
And when you say those people and those deals, are you talking both employment as well as like shareholding opportunities, or more?
Everything.
Yeah.
Just slow down. Naturally, you will attract energy because of the energy you're putting out. And people who come to work for you, investment, partnerships, you know, all the things that are alluring in the beginning. Just slow down. Just take it easy. You know, like, those decisions have major waves in the rest of your life. And I say life because it becomes your life.
Absolutely.
And so just slow down a bit. It's okay. It's nothing gonna. You wait a week. Just you're and here's the one thing I listened to Warren Buffett. He said, you know, it's one thing he said, and it just resonated with me so much. He said the one luxury I have of running my own business, there's only one thing I have, and that's I get to choose the people I do and do not work with. That is just like timeless wisdom. That just resonates.
Yes, that's so very true.
And normally, you know, I think anyone who's run a business right now, I bet you, and I say this and I say it with, there's normally someone you should go and fire right now. They are just etching your soul.
Yeah.
They are causing you grief.
Yeah.
And they are not a force multiplier. And you need to go and deal with it today.
Have you ever let go of that person and regretted it?
No.
I've never heard someone say yes. It's always I regret not doing that sooner.
Yeah. It always creates space for the new.
Yeah.
Let the creative energy come back in at that moment. That's the. Yeah, so that would be my suggestion.
And you've worked with many early stage businesses, many scale ups. What are the common traits from either the individuals or the businesses that you are noticing have a disproportionate success opportunity?
This is going to sound funny, but I think there's a healthy amount of anxiety that people live with. Like, I'm going to die in the next 90 days.
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe 7 days, 48 hours sometimes, right? And I think it's healthy to live in that zone, it can get a bit unhealthy. But I think there's a healthy amount of the candle's always burning. Let's get it done now. Right now. Like literally, let's open the spreadsheet up. Oh, we're going to go and make this plan. Okay, open the spreadsheet up, start typing the numbers in.
Yes.
And right now. Because that's all like, and I've seen that time and time. They just do. And you know, it stacks when you get, you know, when you have kids, then it stacks even more because you have even less time, and then so it amplifies it even further. And if you don't have that, then it gets really quite complicated. There are other founders as well that are much more, you know, analytical, but a huge bias to action.
Yes.
And it's so funny, I think. And this is probably a reflection. I'd say over the long 20 years or last 20 years, 25, whatever it is, I think like my bias has always been to making decisions in the moment or close to,
Yes,
or at least a decision, and then going and changing if it's wrong, but learning from that. And then, you know, I've gotten, you know, a little bit better probably at sort of slowing down decisions a little bit more at certain points. But most of it, I think if we did go and make those calls in those moments, we would have been stuck way back.
It's compressing the time horizon between decision and action. And that the gap that people don't realize, there's like, if you compound those gaps of time over that 20-year span, you're talking like years and years of execution and iteration.
Yep.
That's very...
Compounding delays of potential opportunity. That's an interesting way to frame it. It's like a negative compound effect.
Yeah.
It's like idea interest.
Yeah.
It's going to decay. Yeah. There's a decay.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Like a real short half-life. And it's like, well, that's no longer.
And often that can even happen with like, so the emotion and the feeling you get when you get a new idea, and there's that like peak of like excitement, and often like 24 hours later you're really pretty excited, and then like, but the longer that time span goes, even if you haven't considered reasons why it won't work, it just naturally, you kind of lose that buzz of the room of the conversation, whatever it is, and then when you finally do decide to do it, you just don't have that same like fire inside you.
And I agree, and getting over that activation energy. Just the hill's too high. Sometimes that hill can be good because it was a pretty bad idea.
Yeah. Let's get in the balance.
Yeah.
What about second time founders? You know, I have the thought, I guess, let me bring it back. And I put myself in my shoes. And the challenge I wrestle with is making sure that, you know, over the last 10 years, I feel like I made a lot of great decisions, a lot of terrible ones, you know, a lot of mistakes along the way. And I have a view that I will be successful on the next run. But also you want to kind of balance that to make sure you don't get like a delusional sense of self to go like, okay, everything I touch turns to gold. Have you seen that from that, you know, the first time founders who, you know, have a great exit, and then the second stage they think, you know, all will be well, and it drops off? Have you had any of those kind of interactions before with some of the investments or people you've met?
Definitely, I think. And I think there's a mode here, and a sort of decision point is like going and building a company is that's a brutal concept.
Yeah.
Let's go and sacrifice ourselves to give birth to this other entity that exists and then doesn't care about us afterwards and just goes on its own journey.
Yeah.
And I've built little companies and sold them, and, you know, throughout time. And it's really hard. Like you kind of have cheat codes for, like, you know, it's like, you know, when you play Super Mario and you like start the game, but you know that little cheat and you can get to like level 7 really fast, but you still got to make it through 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And if you've gotten to 7, 8, 9, 10 really fast, you kind of skipped the other ones, and you kind of add a little bit of, you know, cheating a little bit, you know, in a way, and you've kind of haven't learnt the lessons, and you're assuming, oh, I was really good at this previous industry and I knew exactly everything that was going on, and now I'm in here, and you tend to get a lot of L's for a while because you just take the hits. You're like, oh, I touched that flower and that was poisonous, and oh, I didn't realize that that bears come near this water and we shouldn't drink there. You know, like, so I think that's and that can really hurt. Like really hurt and shake confidence. And I think the other one is you get kind of scared that you want to be successful again, and so you kind of like really actually kind of scared of touching ideas.
Has that happened to you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Look at it and like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to create again. Maybe that was my best creation, and just stay away.
Does that thought scare you?
Yeah, it crushes my. I feel trapped. It's like not being creative. I realize this is something I've taken me time to realize, but not being creative, then that would be, you kind of like boxed in that you must be more successful than before. Whereas instead of like it took me a while to just let that go and go, just go and create and keep creating. And if, one's going to hit it out of the park, one's not, but you still get to keep creating. You're still doing and creating and being a part of like doing what you love. And that's the journey. That's the horizon for me. That's and then finding other founders to, go and do those things and partner with, and they go on that real deep dive journey, but be there in terms of, creativity and ideation and in the beginning, and then along the journey. Maybe there's one I just go on my own single journey on. That would be a full-on experience. I have a lot of self-discovery on that one, but I think I've found, I've done better partnering, and naturally I've always partnered with someone. Just I realized the weakness inside myself of consistency. This is just self-reflection, right? So I think, and maybe what I've also noticed is when you do a second time one, you can overcorrect in some places. I never want to do it like that.
Yeah.
And then you overcorrect and you get other problems. And it's just about, a lot of this is just, you got to go through a few of the motions to, unpack that. I think I sort of started to really boil down, and, the feeling, which it's probably second-time founders have forgotten, is the moment when you get product market fit. It you know what I mean? Like, it's like, that happened so long ago, and I've forgotten what it's like when you don't have product market fit and you just keep hitting your head against the wall and no one likes what we're doing. What's going on here? What is going on?
Yeah.
What, am I no good at this? Oh, that's a very big battleship.
I am immediately scared.
No, you should feel safe.
Okay, good. As long as they're on our side, I'm good.
Yeah. There's no Australian flag, but anyway. And it does have a gun at the front.
It's been good, cruel world.
Yeah. That's a healthy amount of anxiety. So I think remember that product market fit. And then what I think is even harder is to, normally what happens, this is really brutal, but I know I've made this mistake, is product market fit happens not in the thing you were focused on.
Yeah.
And you're like, but we were focusing here, but actually the product market fit's over there. No, that's a distraction. And we've learnt that from our original business, not to focus on the distraction.
Yes.
We should focus on the main game. No, actually, you haven't got product market fit. So you actually you're not there. That actually rule is the other way around.
Yeah.
You need to go and skate to the product market fit area and put all in on, and actually literally sunk cost the rest.
Yes.
And that's, those kinds of things. You come from like hungry, I need anything to survive, product market fit, to, stay focused, get, 30-day goals and like 6-month goals. And we don't just get distracted. Like that's something else. We should improve, get more efficient.
We've learned from that.
Yeah, we've learned from getting distracted. That was bad. Don't eat those flowers. Those berries are poisonous. To like actually try every berry. Oh, that gives me energy. let's go. You know, like
that one killed Steve.
yeah, Steve died on that one. You know, but that's hard.
Yeah. And okay, there's a couple of things I'm noticing as we're talking. The first one I want to call out is you're a deep thinker. I can see as certain questions I ask you, like you really truly reflect. Is like self-reflection a process that you've put into your life or something that just comes really naturally to you?
I think it's natural. I think I turn ideas over continuously. I have a bit of there's a problem with that. As I think I live a lot in the future, and sort of I'm constantly planning, looking back and looking forward, looking back, and that can mean that a lot of people feel this way that I'm not present. You know, like, oh, this guy's not even here. He's not even listening to me. And then I'll quote back the last 3 sentences you told me and then give you another idea on top of what you were thinking. And then say, what? He was thinking? Listening? Michelle can probably attest to this. I don't know if it's... I get that feedback a lot. Like, he's not here. But, like, it's because I'm trying to work out and where does this fit in? Trying to, like, calculate the variables and does this align to the trajectory? We're trying to, you know, like you're trying to go for the moon. You got to hit that right angle. You got to loop around the Earth first, and then you got to go for the moon. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna get back around the other side. Like, you know, like So that's probably a bug that's turned into a feature.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the cost of that been in your life?
Not being present. I miss out on the moment. I feel like I try and pull myself back. It's like I have to act. So instead of looking in the future, I have to come back and look in the present and be here. Like, hello, hi, everyone who's listening. Where are you right now? Look around you. Welcome to your life.
Yeah.
The rest of your life just started now. You know, that kind of vibe. And I need that. Like, unfortunately, it's tended to be when I get sick. So I just had a really, really bad bout of COVID, and I'm talking like 3x worse than my first, second, like just horrendous. And in that moment, I can't do much. And I'm just in my own mind, and I'm like, and then there's a moment where I just go, wow, could die one day. Should probably check in with life and talk to some, like, what's around you. Anytime you have that life-threatening thing, I think, or you go to have something at the hospital, you know, you have an operation.
Oh, my son just got 3 stitches 4 weeks ago. I had to pin him down while they were feeding him nitrous oxygen for 3.5 minutes, and he's screaming like, "Dad, you've forsaken me." I was like, "What is life?"
But you're present, right?
Oh, so
you're
present.
here.
I wish I wasn't, but
I think, you know, I think, but then you're grateful, you know, for the you know, for the health of your son and the opportunities he gets, and like, this. I don't know, I have this weird dynamic and thought about children, unfortunately, which is that you're the bow and arrow and they're the arrow, and you get one shot, and you're kind of already done. And then where it lands and where it goes. And more and more I'm starting to realize that. Like my first responsibility is actually to myself and how I act, and they're going to go and copy that. I can't helicopter and shift the pieces around and you know, Machiavelli their life into, you know, I can nudge and help and support and, you know, and discuss, but what I'm doing, they're going to copy. They're going to go, oh, Dad did it like that when he was in that situation. I'm going to borrow that.
So everyday actions rather than the things you say.
Yeah. That helicopter, it's just, you're never going to be able to always be there. And also when you do that, the child, I think, doesn't get comfortable with making mistakes and they fear being wrong.
Yeah. Take me to the biggest mistake that you've made in the 20-year journey, one where everything felt like it was going to go horribly wrong and you didn't have that sense of, oh, this will be fine, we'll get out of here. Is there an example of that?
I got one right now. I know I'm not supposed to talk about it, so it's...
Well, not that one.
Yeah. I don't know whether that one necessarily is horribly wrong as well. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But I've made like some terrible investments But in the moment, they felt like my whole world was collapsing and was angry. I didn't know how to get out of it. It's funny, like I think about some of the escalation of the size of them gets more intense.
Yeah. Does the feeling get more intense as the scale get, or it's kind of like a similar feeling?
Same.
But
It's like when you play poker for $5 or $500,000.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I think humans max out on dopamine.
Yep.
We just sort of hit max. You know, if we were playing for $5 for poker, I'd feel exactly the same thing for 50 grand.
Yeah.
500 grand, same
Yeah.
level. Okay, maybe in the 500, you're probably bringing in even more.
Yeah, another
a few
layer.
more
Yeah.
bits in
Yeah.
there. But generally, I think like you get quickly, to 9 out of 10, and then the extra last bits are like, immaterial. I think because I remember signing this. This is a funny story. I remember early on I signed this hosting contract for this dedicated server, and it was just an actual horrible deal. It was like 3 years, and I'd never done this before, and I got myself in this situation. I couldn't afford it, and it was for web hosting, and I had to back out of it. And the guy let me out of it, but I just learnt the most brutal lesson ever.
What was that?
Like to really do the numbers, to read the contract carefully, how you get it out of a contract when you get into it, to like actually process the downside and just go, okay, here's the downside, let's play from there.
Yes.
And I just didn't hit that level. And now, but like, I look at a contract, I just go straight to the downside.
Yeah.
And it just sits with me. That feeling I had of just like, oh, you're trapped. And it's just so uncomfortable. Like boxed. I know that sounds small, but if you imagine now take that into like putting, $2 million into I put a lot of money into an investment, and it just went horribly wrong.
What happened?
Just tanked,
Yeah.
went the other direction, and had a different actual direction than I thought it was going in, and lost a lot of money.
How does that feel? Like, let me first help contextualize. Like, relative to your total net worth, like percentage point, 10%.
I think there's two things. One is like realized cash net worth.
Yeah.
It was very high.
Yes. Okay.
It was like over 50%.
Wow. Okay.
Terrible idea.
Yeah. Good learning lesson.
But that's the thing. You get cash, and you're a young kid, and you realize that's the kind of things you do. You go, well, this is what I should double down. I'm really good at roulette.
Yeah.
Let's go and go on number 36.
And how did it feel?
Fallacy of Fallacy of luck or winning on it.
Yeah. Is it a gambler's fallacy?
I'm inventing.
I like it. How did it feel? How's that moment feel?
I had to process loss. You work so hard to get something, and you feel loss. It's just nasty. Like it's not fun. And being okay with that.
Yeah.
And then I think moving to acceptance.
Yeah.
That took a while. And then realizing that you've got all this future ahead of you, and that's just the present, and that's done. Are you going to be forced forever to be like that? No, you've got a lot more potential in that. The people who started companies that have failed 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and then just gone and made remarkable successes. And that's a real hard thing, that failure thing. Everyone I think feels this.
100%.
So even myself,
Yeah.
I'm like, I think to some extent still, you don't like failure. I'm not skating towards it. Hey, I'm super excited about failing. But getting comfortable, I think that took me a while, and then just felt angry at myself. Really angry. It's no one else to blame. Like you can point the finger at someone else, but at the end of the day, you were the one that put the money in. You're the one who pressed the button, and owning that and getting past that. Fear, anger is kind of fear, like you fearing all the loss, fearing what will next happen. Oh, I'm going to keep making bad decisions, and all this sort of spirally thoughts. Digging that out and then resetting, I think, is kind of, that's a big journey.
It sounds like a big journey, a tough one. But do you feel on the other side of that?
Yeah, and now I think I've also sort of learned to take losses, and just cut losses a bit earlier, like to us they're smaller. Oh, that was wrong. Don't hold out. Just cut it. Move on. Keep going. Next. Take that loss. And then what I notice is you get back and you find really good opportunities, then you make a win, and that sort of offsets it. And, you make 60% wins and 40% losses, you're still up 10.
Yeah.
20.
Here I am. Yep.
Yeah.
Don't have yes people in your life.
Yeah.
Yes, Fred.
Well, just trying to accepting losses in investing is not a natural thing that came to me. It's something which I think if you grew up in that space with finance and stuff and with finance people, it is. But, you got to learn that. And that was a lesson I had to learn.
So as you reflect on everything you've done up to today, what would you say you're most proud of?
I think honoring my uniqueness and creative approach to doing things differently to create alpha. I think that's just staying creative and honoring that difference and the honor and integrity to myself around that. I think I've stayed true to for a very, very long time. I think in the beginning, my first company, I was less, and then I slowly, and it was always there to some extent, but I think a lot over time, I think I've just really started to, now I'm way off, into off-piste, deep into some back Alp zone, with the helicopter and, and I think that was really important. Because I come from a very conservative background. My parents are very conservative. Family's very conservative. And so doing that has been, quite a personal journey.
And if we were writing the memoir of Fred, would we start today, or do you feel like you're just getting started?
I think just beginning. Yeah, it's going to get crazier. I'm just getting good. I'm only just getting good. I feel I was average. Now I'm getting good. And I think there's a really great zone coming. And I see glimmers of it. I'm like, oh, you crossed over. Wow. Oh, wow. And then you go back to good and you're like, no. And then I think the reason why I go back to good is because you're scared of being great. And I think I got to get used to stepping up. And I think the good is also comfortable. You can deal with all of the dimensions of your life and what surrounds that in being good, socially, personally, internally, if you fall, loss, all those components. Whereas if you go and play a big game, big table stakes, and you can fall big, and you can win big, that's, and better ideas, more. You've tested more. You've gone deeper. You've got even better people around you. You've got more creativity, more difference, more execution, better process, more efficient. That's, that's good and great, I think. And little glimmers.
That's awesome. One last takeaway for the audience. For anybody today that's nervous about making that leap, what would you say to them?
So I have something when I get to a point of a decision, I have a line that I use, and it's sort of a so just background. My Myers-Briggs profile is an ENTP, which is a debater. So I will literally fight a point, even if I don't believe in it, just for the sake. So I have a lot of ways to make a point, and really get people to are really good decisions. That's one thing I work on. But I say this, and this is my question, which I ask myself, and I think it's important you to ask yourself in that is, do you want to die not knowing? Like, are you comfortable with the acceptance of not knowing? And if you are not, go and do it. But if you are, just let it go, because you didn't really care.
Beautiful. What a good way to end. Fred Schebesta, thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Frank.
Appreciate it.